White Sox fans, welcome into the Sox On Tap postgame show presented by On Tap Sportsnet. It's Johnny on here alongside my guy, Sox Insane. Besnick, I just got to start. I got to take a sip of beer here because it's rough. We're in tough times, and we're only in the 3 weeks into the season here.
Yeah, this is rough. This was a rough one today. 6 hits, 2 runs. It's I'll be having a beer shortly after this as well.
White Sox fans, you're going to need it. So make sure you go #crack them. Unfortunately, they're misery beers today, as you alluded to. White Sox dropped the series finale 5-2 to the Phillies. That's another series loss. I have not won one yet so far this season. And, a lot to discuss in this one. But before we do that, a little housekeeping, listeners, make sure go subscribe on Tip Sportsnet on YouTube so you know when we go live. You can also jump in the comments section here. Share your frustration about the White Sox. We'll pin it up on the little comment board that we got below us here. I'd love to hear your takes. So once again, on Tip Sportsnet, YouTube, subscribe, and then follow along on social media at On Tap Sportsnet and at Sox On Tap. Our handles right here underneath us. So let's get into this one. Series finale. Not too much to stew over. A short outing for Mike Clevenger. He had been, pretty solid in his first few starts, and then today runs into a little bit of the long ball. Balls flying out early, and then a 44 pitch third inning here. So that kind of puts a damper on the day, and you got to go to Tanner Banks early.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have it today. He lets up the homer in the first to Trey Turner. Before that, Turner was 0 for 8, and that's not a guy you're going to shut down for too long. He's an all-star. He's one of the best players in the game. That's a tough one. But yeah, I mean, he's not throwing. He only walked 1, but he's not throwing strikes. He's laboring through innings. Not good, Bob. He was in the 70 pitch range, I think. In that third, so it made a lot of sense to pull him at that point, and I was happy that they pulled him because he just didn't have it, and there was no reason to continue.
Right, yeah, and I will say he was able. Granted, it took once again 44 pitches, but he did get out of that third inning with just the 1 run allowed. I know he had the home runs earlier in the game that obviously bumped the score up to where it was, but I think it could have gotten a lot uglier there at the end of his outing. So at least they're still within striking distance. But that brings us to our next problem here. When Tony and I talked about the meme about you only get one of the hitting pitching defense that you got hitting, but only for 1 inning. Once again, seems even in the win last night, we can only get 1 solid hit per game. That's what it feels like here, and it's super frustrating.
Yeah, and in all these games, those runs have come early. They've come in the first 3 innings, and then after that, the offense just goes cold. And we saw it again today. We saw them fight a little bit through it in the Orioles game on Saturday, where they kept, letting up the lead and then coming back. They showed some fight that day, but since then it's been you get 1 and you like it, like Tony says. So 1 or 2 innings of runs, and then the rest is just lifelessness. And we saw that today. 6 hits. I mean, that's it. That's all we got. Pretty tough.
That's all we got. 6 goddamn hits.
Yeah.
Major league there. It's tough when it's so barren and so thin, because you go through, and I hear this quote from Pedro Grifol, and after the game, he says, those guys aren't going up there trying to make outs. Well, it's like, A, thanks, Captain Obvious. They're professional baseball players. I would hope not. But B, I had to respond with the Ron Burgundy, I don't believe you gift, because the plate approaches are brutal. Dive into that a little bit.
The plate approaches are brutal. I mean, they are going up there free swinging. This is a free swinging team, and there's really not a whole lot of thump in the lineup. So the at bats look bad. So if they're not trying to make outs, they have me fooled, because it definitely looks like they're trying to make outs. It's pretty obvious when you see 1 walk.
Yeah,
not working counts.
Right. Yeah. And you talk about that. Like, I see a Luis Robert check swing, and I know he has been one guy that has actually, had a little bit of a, probably best offensive production there, but he had a little check swing out to, a little lazy liner to the second baseman. And that looked like an at bat in which a White Sox player was trying to make an out, because that was just a terrible approach there. Kind of just that just magnified it for me. It was, kind of like a one-off thing in one of the innings there. But that the first thing that came to my mind when I heard that after the game. So, it's, all in all, I mean, the pen did kind of, keep you around. So not that you need the bats to then put together a rally, but for overall, Tanner Banks, I know we let up a couple runs in that first inning that he got into in the fourth, but after that, Middleton and Santos locked it down. So that's one small positive I can take away. And then Andrew Vaughn finally getting his first. I think there was a lot of noise surrounding him, Eloy, and there still will continue to be, but some of those bats, right, they're expected to provide power. I'm hoping this is one that can get him going.
Yeah, and it was good to see AV finally find the launch codes. He was 2 for 4 today. He was really the only hitter that showed up, and the rest of them were pretty much non-existent. But Robert, I mean, his batting average now is down to 263. He is, he got off to a hot start, and now he's really cooled off. I'm glad Vaughn hit that homer. I've been saying for a couple of weeks he's going to do that. I think I took him in the pick to click like 3 or 4 times, and he finally got one on the board. And then you got Eloy hitting 190, just looking completely lost at the plate. Eloy's cooked. Eloy probably needed a rehab stint in Charlotte, which is just to kind of get his bearings for a couple games, because he had an 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts the other day, and he's just lost.
Right. Yeah. About the only positive I can think of since Eloy returned was that kind of little bloop RBI single on Friday night's game against the Orioles. That was about it. Other than that, it's been pretty bad from Eloy there. So, we look at this, and once again, like I said, this is a lot of doom and gloom here, because I hate to be this way this early, but once again, these games still count, and it's, you're starting to dig a hole. You're 7-12 now. You haven't won a series. You haven't won back-to-back games. You're in 4th place behind the Detroit Tigers. Now a game behind them. You're 4 games back in 1st place and could fall even further depending on Minnesota and Cleveland outcomes tonight. You've got 3 upcoming at Tampa, who is 16-3 and will be coming off an off day for Friday's opener. And then you go up to Canada. Toronto is 11-7 right now. And reinforcements are not on the way, Besnick.
No.
Moncada, let's start there with Moncada. Not likely to play this weekend and will likely need a rehab stint. I don't think this is extremely shocking, but kind of getting some word from the White Sox brass. Yeah,
good to hear that. Based on what I've seen with Eloy the last few games, I'm glad that Moncada is getting a rehab stint to hopefully figure things out before he gets, called back up. But yeah, he's not coming. TA's not still a week or 2 away. So yeah, it's pretty ugly. All the whole rundown of the list there that you just gave is not very promising. I mean, what is there? There's really nothing to hang my hat on right now with this team. There's a lack of hitting. There is a lack of power. Starting pitching has faltered now the last 2 games, which before that they put together a nice run of starts, and the bullpen was giving runs away. So, you go back to, you only get one thing. The bullpen, I guess, did a pretty good job today, and that was the one we got. So pretty rough and not looking good. I don't know what it's going to take to turn this ship around, but it's sinking pretty quick.
Right. And I heard, as we're kind of, transitioning this into the looking ahead at what's on tap next for the White Sox here, when I was just listening a little bit to the post-game show between Scott Podsednik and Frank Thomas and Chuck Garfin, and I get it. They are the White Sox station, right? Obviously it's NBC, but they're the official broadcast crew, and their contracts with the White Sox there, right? So they have to still at least provide some of this. But with the 2 words that Frank said, surprise and shock the world by taking 2 of 3 from Tampa. That's his grandiose vision of, what we need to do this weekend. And I agree we should take 2 of 3 from Tampa. But when he used those words, I was like, we're here just 3 weeks into the season, and we're already saying we got to shock the world like this. Don't get me wrong. Tampa's off to a hot start, but it's like, my God, we should not be in this position to start with.
Yeah, I mean, Frank, we need to take 2 of 3 of every series. If I wish it were that easy, but you're playing a team that's super hot and it doesn't look good. I mean, the one positive I'll say is we were 4-6 against Tampa last year, so we played them pretty tough. Hopefully that rings true again. That's my only positive outlook going into that series.
Right, and
but yeah, it's so early for this kind of talk, and it's just really disheartening. There's no way to sugarcoat 7-12. There's just no way to say anything good about it. And we're playing teams. We just played a team who came into this series with the same record. I know the Phillies got to the World Series last year, and they've got a lot of talent, but they were playing bad, and we couldn't even take advantage of that.
Right. Yeah. It was a battle of 6 and 10 teams coming in to the series, and obviously Philly's the one that's able to take 2 of 3 from the opening of the week here series. So as we're looking ahead, I guess one thing I could put out there is that since 2019, the Trop has not been as much of a house of horrors for us. We've actually been able to take some series down there, so that's at least one thing on my mind. And also Tampa, they're a very good baseball team, right? They deserve to be up near the top of where they are. But they also did have a bit of a cupcake schedule. And then they did come back down to earth a little bit and showed that they are human and, lost a game. I think they lost 2 to Toronto. They also lost a game to the Reds. So it's not like they are, absolute Goliath here. So I just wanted to put some context around this one. Looking at the matchups here, Kopech versus Calvin Foucher on Friday. Dylan Cease, Shane McClanahan on Saturday. That'll be a beaut of a game that's on national TV as well. And then Sunday, Lance Lynn, TBD. I'm sure the Rays will probably go with an opener and absolutely smash it around, and we'll get like 1 hit total on the day. So that's a preview for the weekend of how's it looking. Wait, how do you think this shakes out, or any insight for any of these matchups here?
I mean, Cease, obviously that's the stopper. That's the one where you say, you probably win. He didn't win last time out, and the team didn't win last time out. And he had kind of a short start. So hopefully you get a bounce back there. But McClanahan's very good. Cy Young candidate last year. He's going to be tough. Kopech, you just hope he can put something together and give you some length. He seems to be laboring a lot, and there's some genuine concerns about the big bastard. I know you are a Lance Lynn enjoyer as much as I am, and you're a little concerned about him or what we've seen so far. The loss in velocity that we've witnessed so far has definitely hurt him. He's another guy laboring through a lot of innings, but he still gutted out 6 and righted the ship yesterday.
Right.
So.
He's got to be ready to go from the jump too. That's a tough thing. They've been jumping on him in the first inning, so from Jump Street, I think that's big for Lance to set the tone for the game. Maybe a clean inning every once in a while, that'd be nice. Man, as I look at this, I want to say probably another series loss. Maybe you probably able to take one somehow. But you probably use up all your offense in like one game. That's kind of where I'm at. Biggest fear here. I understand there have been some concerns, just based on which turn through the rotation it is, because we've seen Jekyll and Hyde acts, right, from basically all of the starters except for Dylan Cease, because even when he's bad, it's not all that bad. Right. So when I go and look at that, man, we need to start hitting the ball out of the ballpark with consistency. Someone besides just Jake Berger. Credit to him. He's been carrying offense. I think Tony and Sean did a great job of outlining that, kind of highlighting what he's meant to this lineup. But, man, they're impotent aside from him. It's tough.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have anybody remotely close to hitting 300. So if you're not going to hit home runs, you've got to be good in situational hitting. And they don't appear to be coming up with any of those clutch hits. That's what is going to lead to runs for this team. They've got to be able to come through in those situations 1 for 5 with runners in scoring position. So that's not really a whole lot of opportunity there, but they've got to come through in whatever chances they get, because they're not going to hit home runs, and they've got to play clean defense and get some good pitching. So it's a tough thing to put together when you don't hit home runs.
Right. And I want to kind of transition here. It's up to these guys that are in the lineup right now to nut up and get it done. Because guess what? Reinforcements are not on the way. I alluded to it earlier with Moncada. We talked about him, but Tim Anderson, he's still on a 2 to 4 week timeline. And the best update that they could even give was that they hope it's on the short end of that. It was via Chuck Garfien when they showed Tim playing a little catch on the field before the game today. So it's like these, sure, like Tim Anderson is you've called, the heart and soul, right, of the team. We've talked about that. You can go and look at the record. Tim Anderson in the lineup versus out of it, obviously, big difference there. But these guys aren't ready to come back yet. So do you want to just keep slipping and use the excuse? Oh, we just got to get healthy. Like Sean Roberts' comments here, just stay healthy, right? The approach that everyone kind of memes and jokes to death. But man, it's up to these guys to the want to. I don't. That's the other thing. Like that's when I go to Griffol's quote again about these guys aren't up there trying to make outs. Like I said, in theory, okay, I get it, but it really doesn't look like there's a whole lot of like rallying together on the bench or anything like that. Even when you do get a base runner on, what's the most they do? The little check mark celebration. I don't see anybody having fun. Meanwhile, the Orioles are doing sprinklers and shit in the dugout. Are we really that lethargic on that 2022 level of energy? I honestly want to know. I wish I was a fucking fly on the wall in there.
I've watched a lot of pregame and postgame shows, this year and last year. And Ozzie has said this a number of times, and he said this team doesn't like each other. And then you hear Abreu when he goes to the Astros and he says, this team's a family that what we were last year wasn't. So, Ozzie likes to talk and say some things. So, you can take that as you want, but it's interesting to hear that from him, who's as close to the team as he is. And you're right. I mean, these guys got to nut up. Lennon Sosa, you're hitting 144, man. 144. But you're not trying to make outs. The only cool thing that looks like they're having fun is Jake Berger hitting the home run and biting the burger with Elvis Andrus. That was cool to see. But that's it. Jake is the only one that's out there looking like that. Everybody else, like you said, looks lethargic. We've got Romy Gonzalez, Lennon Sosa, Eloy Jimenez, all batting under 200. Elvis Andrus 212. That's just not going to get it done.
Right. And, like I said, it's up to those guys that are in the lineup every day, too, because the bench, I call them the bench bums. All of our bench players suck. I'm sorry. Romy Gonzalez, only a Cactus League legend. He sucks. Lenny Sosa, he's in the lineup, but he sucks. Hanser Alberto, we obviously know he sucks. He didn't even get any run in this series. They all suck. They're not good players. They don't insulate themselves with good depth.
No. And that's the problem. Because you look around the league, and I did a little looking around, and there was 31 players total last year in all of Major League Baseball that started 150 games. That's not a lot. And there was 53 that appeared in that many games, 150. So there are teams out there who don't have guys for, a 10, 20% of the season. A lot of players are missing that much time, but those teams have good reserves, major league quality reserves, and we're running quadruple, maybe not even quad A players, triple A players out there, hoping that they turn into something. And they've done this consistently for years, and it just never works, and they never learn their lesson, and they never go out there and go get some quality reserves that you can rely on during these injury stints.
Right. There is one guy that has come up, though, that I do want to give a little bit of props to, and that's Keenan Middleton. Usually these guys that would come up, they would already hit the wall, right, of league seeing him a little bit. I know it's a small sample size, but he has harnessed the command. So I just need to give props there. I know I listed off all the bench guys and talking about AAA, sort of level players there, but he was one that came up, and I did enjoy what I've seen from him in his limited time here. So credit where it's due, right?
And Santos has done a decent job too. I think he's been all right overall. And then you've got, it's just, and it's kind of interesting because these guys come out of nowhere. They put up, they give you good innings, and it kind of proves the point of like, you don't need to go spend $50 billion on your bullpen. If you can find guys like this, that'll give you good pitching and stretches. Then you don't have to pay Joe Kelly $10 million to sit on the IL all season.
Right. Yeah. And unfortunately that's, a problem that stems deep with, scouting, player development, all of that kind of stuff, because it's not like they're churning out a bunch of names that are ready to come up and, contribute into a bullpen there. So that's why I pointed out when it's a surprise thing like Keenan Middleton here. Whereas the Rays, the team we're going to play now, they basically just build it up every year with guys that they just cycle through their system. So it's, compare and contrast there and take what you will away from that. So, but we're about wrapping up here on Sox on Tap. I wanted to shout out a comment that we got dropped in here earlier. Matthew Lucas, love seeing this guy in the comments all the time. But he says, hey guys, appreciate what you do for us Sox fans, even when it sucks. That's what we're here for. We're here, beer vent session. Come have a beer with us after the game. Drop your comments in here. That's what we're here for, because we're all just here having fun talking about this team, even if they make it not fun, make me angry, make me sad. We'll bullshit together through it.
Yeah. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate that. We'll be here for you all year, man.
Yeah. Beer all season. So, all right. That about does it here for Sox on Tap. We appreciate everyone tuning in once again. A reminder, no shows on Fridays and Saturdays. So we will be back with Sunday Fun Day. Obviously they have the off day Thursday, their fourth much needed off day, just 3 weeks into the season here, because that's how we roll as White Sox fans. So no show Friday, Saturday. We'll be back Sunday Fun Day. Go subscribe on YouTube so you don't miss it. Hit the little bell button and you'll know when we go live. And then go and check us out social media at Sox on Tap and at On Tap Sportsnet. Everyone have a great weekend. Crack them. Probably going to need to get through this series, but I think Saturday should be a exciting ball game with a great pitching matchup. So it's my final thought. Besnick, hit me with yours, and then let's roll out of here.
It's tough to sugarcoat anything when you're 7-12, but I mean, just trying to hope that these guys hit or pitch, or the one thing we get is good enough to win. That's all I got.
Right. Yeah. We did see just a wave of offense at the beginning. I want to return to that because hitting and runs are fun. So we'll leave it at that. Until next time, White Sox forever.
White Sox forever.